Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Inner Compass podcast here with my good friend Scott Kidd. We're going to talk today about self-sabotage. And I know this is something that I think everybody should at least think about because sometimes we catch ourselves all the time calling ourselves overweight, calling ourselves no good at what we're doing. Nobody told you that besides you. And I hope this episode today helps you. We're on episode number 18. Scott, introduce yourself, man. Let's get into it.
How you doing today? Scott Kidd here with my friend Eddie Austin here. Really happy to be here on the Inner Compass podcast, host of the Yacht Captain Investor podcast. And we love doing this kind of work because we know it's great for us, and we're hoping that it has an effect on you guys. And we love to hear from you guys about your thoughts on self-sabotage. I know I've asked myself over the last couple of weeks, like, what does this mean to me personally? I know I've done this a lot throughout my years. Just kind of that fear of success, really, because I know what failure is, and we know how to get knocked down, get up, and you and I both know we've both been knocked down many times, and we know how to get up because we know how to fight, we know how to get up, and we know how to keep going. But I came to a realization when I did a lot of inner work with myself that a lot of times I'd hold myself back and put things in front because I didn't understand. I was afraid of what the success would look like and how it would affect me. And so that was a bigger thing that I had to get over and, just realize that that's just another part of it. This is why I'm doing all these things and why I'm really doing all this work with myself to get there. And so what does self-sabotage mean to you?
I think it's the daily things we tell ourselves throughout our daily passing, as we get up in the morning, as we, like you get out of bed, and when you get out of bed and you're cracking and aching and your back's hurting and you're limping when you about 5 steps in bed, you're like, oh man, I'm old. Well, you're not old, and I think that self-sabotage can go down to the micro level of the things that we say about ourselves. And, like you said before, and like Bruce Lee, all our cells are listening, and I think it's very important that we don't self-sabotage by our language. Like our mouth is here and our ears are here and our frontal cortex is here. So it's not very far that this has to travel, that these bad negative words are going straight in our mind. And let's be honest, how bad would it be that eventually your mind and your body starts to believe that you are old and you're not old? And, maybe you just need to exercise more, or maybe eat less foods that are, heavy on your stomach. Maybe there's something you could change. But I feel that the self-sabotage is not the one where you just have something catastrophic go wrong and you just sit there and just beat yourself up and point fingers at yourself. But I think it's is the easiest saying, man, I'm overweight. I'm not that smart. That's not me. I'm old. Now, I think these are simple things, and a lot of people, I hear it all the time. People are like, "Oh man, I'm old." You're 45.
No,
You're not old.
yeah, I'll say it, and I'll say it again. But I say to myself, "You're only old when you're gone." I mean, because
That's right.
If you get up in the morning, you got a chance. So
Yeah.
if you get up in the morning, and I would agree. All these. It's all these little things that we really do put in front of us, all these little things we say to ourselves and do to ourselves that we kind of constantly knocking ourselves. But one thing that I know I do a lot of times when I catch myself, especially early in the morning, doing these things, I just tell myself, hey, that's not true. Catch yourself and say, no, I'm doing it. I'm doing this.
Yeah.
And I know you've talked about this a lot of times, is like, just look back on, maybe the last year or even the last few weeks of all the stuff that you've done and say, hey, you're doing good. We're moving ahead.
You're doing a good job.
We're doing this. We're doing a good job. And those are things that how you can stop all the procrastination and the overthinking, the doubting yourself. when you look back and see all these things that you've actually done, you know, you'll have a better conversation with yourself. Once you start having that better conversation, you'll start to uplift yourself, because a lot of times you can't, you have to catch yourself, because you will go down that rabbit hole of despair. You can go down it
Mhm.
pretty quickly and pretty easily. So you got to catch yourself.
Absolutely. And, some common ways that you can catch yourself in self sabotage today. And here's some examples. Number one is procrastination is huge.
Mm-hmm.
Procrastination, let's be honest, man. Like, I always believe that if there's one call on your calendar, if there's one thing you got to do today and it's the hardest thing you got to do it first.
Mm-hmm.
Because if that's the hardest thing you got to do, then just get it out of the way. But a lot of us may procrastinate on that all day long, afraid to do that one task because of the outcome. And let's be honest, that equates to overthinking. And to
Mm-hmm.
me, that's another way to catch yourself self-sabotaging is the overthinking this.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
It definitely is. I catch myself. I know when it's something that I've done in the past to self sabotage is the procrastination, because I sit there and kind of do all the other things around the thing that I'm supposed to, like that one thing you're talking about. But then when I finally get into that one thing, it's not that bad, and
Yeah,
I end up
it's not.
getting it done. But it's just I've kind of pushed it off and pushed it off. But it's like when you get into it, it's like, why wasn't I doing this earlier? But then you can't beat yourself up about it. You got to say, okay, let's get after it and get going, because you know it really just comes down to, one of the things is like doubting yourself, like, why am I here? That imposter syndrome thing, like, oh, should I be here? Do I deserve to be here? But you
Yeah,
absolutely do. If you stepped in that door, you're supposed to be there, and you don't waver
that's right.
from that. And you'll find, and I know it's found for me, because a lot I found for myself that a lot of times, like, it can be overwhelming going into these conferences and being around a lot of people, because I'm not around a lot of people very often, and it can be overwhelming, the amount of people. But once you step in the room, you get the energy of the room, and then you just
That's
make
right.
that first conversation. And then it gets easier and easier and easier, and then you get the ball rolling.
Yeah, I want to give you, well, everybody listening, not you. I want to give everybody listening here a tool for the doubting yourself. And this tool is this. It's simple as a notepad and a piece of paper. And it doesn't matter what size notepad; it can be anything. But get you a notepad and a piece of paper and write down 30 things that you've accomplished in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do that, you'll get into a state of mind that truly feels abundant and
Mm-hmm.
accomplished in ways that you can take on that next task. Because sometimes we can comfort seek
Mm-hmm.
trying to give ourselves the right language to be comfortable around not completing the task that's at hand,
Mm-hmm.
because you think, well, you start doubting yourself. So when you feel yourself that you're doubting yourself, and it's a big thing you're trying to change in your life, or even a small thing it's a big impact for other people, just stop right there. Just stop the self doubt and just pull out a
Mm-hmm.
pen and a piece of paper and just write down, um, I'm a father, I'm
Mm-hmm.
a husband, um, I've successfully have a roof over my head for the last 6 years. I'm a yacht captain.
Mm-hmm.
People look up to me for advice. I'm a leader. These need to be small things, but put them down. And by the end of that, when you read it back to yourself, you'll realize that you can do this, that you
Mm-hmm.
really can do this. And I feel like some of us won't step outside that comfort zone. We'll use self sabotage because we want to be comfortable. We want to seek comfort in this not so comfortable position. And
Yeah,
that's just for me, it's worked.
yeah, it's most definitely true that our brain will try to seek that comfort and that safety position where, because if you're growing and doing things that hard thing can be really uncomfortable. And, but once
Mhm.
you start, it gets easier, but I would say also once you get to 30, you can probably go a lot more. A lot of times it actually just gets your brain moving to where you're like, wow, and gets you, the more you do, the more you'll realize that, hey, I can do this. This is not
Yeah,
it, I can do this. I got this. This is happening.
absolutely. I mean, I can share several self-sabotage stories that kind of showed up for me and I broke through it. When I was starting my first business, I thought, man, who are you to think that you can start a business and serve things for other people and do a good job? And, the confirmation was all over the map because at the end of the day, there was tons of people out there that needed a good fabricator. They needed a good mechanic. They needed a good
Mm-hmm.
person that had integral intentions to do the right things and charge a fair amount for their service. And other people were so busy that they weren't getting their stuff in and out the door. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, I had to realize, man, what qualifies me? Well, I've ran other people's companies. I've been a welder. I'm government certified at multiple different testing levels. So it's not that I don't know how to weld. I've got these tools, this equipment, I've got a building, and I start taking inventory and immediately I'm able to stop overthinking it. And it was a breakthrough. And it turned out to be a really big opportunity. I've since exited that company that it served me very well. And it certainly saved many people and a lot of headache, for finding somebody that did subpar work. So that's a breakthrough, man, that was much needed.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have self sabotaged if I would kept procrastinating on it, overthinking it, and then just seeking comfort. I don't want to step out because that could be pretty uncomfortable. But we did it, and it was fun, and it was turned out to be great.
Yeah, that's a very great story because you never know what you can get in, what you can do until you start doing it. And I would have, I think I have a similar story. Like when my first captain's job, there was a lot of times where that self doubt creeped in, and self sabotage. Like, oh, am I supposed to be here? Am I too, but I'd say to myself, like, like say we went up to New England and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, but you know what? I made it here, so I can obviously keep going. It's not like I haven't done this before. It's like, well, this is a new place, but you know what? At that point in my life, all the places were new places.
Hmm.
So
Absolutely.
it just took me realizing, what? I went all the way up the East Coast, and it's like, well, since I did that, it's like all these places I'm going are new, so that's fine. And then it just got easier the more reps I
Yeah.
put in, and stop myself from saying, hey,
Yeah.
oh, you shouldn't be here. And then I took a hard look, and then there was an older gentleman that said to me one time, he's like, at one time everybody was in your same place. They hadn't been
Yeah.
anywhere either. So
Yeah.
don't listen. And because I listened to some other people, he said, I don't listen to them. You know, they don't know what they're talking about.
Of
So that was
course.
nice. You know.
Of course. Well, I know sometimes, man, I sometimes people just think so much and they fear success when I think really they have this fear of failure. And to be
Mm-hmm.
honest, man, I would love to remove that for everybody that's listening today and here far and near that fear of failure. Don't be afraid of failure because that's when you're going to learn the
Mm-hmm.
most. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, don't be afraid of success. You're becoming a better person, a better version of you when you're successful. And I'm gonna be straight up. Like success don't come without failures. Not,
Mm-hmm.
not good success. Like measurable success has to have something that didn't go right. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like Thomas Edison said. He failed 1,000 times in some people's eyes, and he's like, no, I found 1,000 things that didn't work,
Yeah.
and I'm okay with that. Or it didn't work because of this particular thing that didn't make it work. Like he
Mm-hmm.
figured out that this part of it worked, but it ultimately failed. But he knew what failed then, and that's why we have light today.
Mm-hmm.
Because he didn't give up. So don't be afraid of being successful. I mean, and don't be afraid of failure because they're a caveat, right? It's like one doesn't
Mm-hmm.
come without the other. Like
Yeah.
one must fail to be successful, in
Yeah.
my opinion, or that's the way it's been in my journey.
Yeah. And that's so true. One must succeed by, by failure. It's just one of those things that, we need to make sure that we realize that this is what matters, that you have to succeed multiple times before you can fail. And you have to fail multiple times before you can succeed, because they all go hand in hand. You're going to have multiple successes and multiple failures, but without one without you can't have one without the other. You can't just be abundantly successful without being abundantly failing. Because
Yeah.
there's thousand failures of Thomas Edison, that put him on track to do that. And I would say take away that fear of failure would be something that you could definitely enhance your success.
So this is something that we wrote down for the episode, and I wanted to share this because I wanted to get in this topic. I like this identity topic. So how does identity and self belief play into the cycle of self sabotage? That is it's a pretty big statement, really. And I think that first, for to understand with anybody on listening here, think about your identity and what is your identity tied to. And your identity is huge. Like it's kind of the
Mm-hmm.
the main marker in life. Like it's the main goalpost in life is your identity. And how does this self belief play into the cycle of sabotage?
Yeah, and I would say, how does your identity, take a hard look at what your identity is connected to. Like, is it connected to that baggage that you keep dragging around?
Mm-hmm.
That big bag of self sabotage or self doubt. That what are the things that you can look at that are around you, or the people or things that are around you that you can let go, that will get you to your best self. And
Absolutely.
it'll break that cycle.
Absolutely. And I think you have to realize, when does this cycle start? And I think the
Mm-hmm.
cycle really starts, well, I know it started for me when you had this great big vision, this bigger vision that started to swell up the cycle of the self-sabotage. That's when it started to come into play. And then, that bigger vision of yourself, like thinking way outside who you are today. That's when that really self-sabotage life cycle comes into play. And it's like, oh man, who do you think you are?
Mm-hmm.
And, if the identity's not there, that's a pretty easy cycle to jump into.
Mm. It most definitely is. If you don't have a really strong why and a really strong sense of self identity of who you are becoming, the picture's not clear. You can probably start to go into a lot of different directions, and if that's not clear, you will start putting things in front of you and start self sabotaging and kind of get in your own way, which I know I've personally done that many times, just because I've had too many things that I didn't let go of that I should have, and too many people in my life that weren't necessarily bad people or anything, but they weren't exactly didn't exactly have my best interests at heart. There's saying that you can't be a millionaire around $20 people. Not to say that's the equation of what people's worth are, but if people don't have your best interests at heart, they won't necessarily be thinking of what's best for you, or you know keep bringing up things that are definitely going to be holding you back. And you might think you need to cater to their needs when you probably don't.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. So, Scott, what are some strategies or habits that's helped you recognize when self sabotaging yourself?
Well, I know one thing that I've recognized over the years is when I'm feeling kind of stressed and I'm kind of talking to myself and over analyzing things a bit more. I realize that something's causing me a huge amount of undue stress, and I need to rethink, like, is this something that's purposeful for me? Is this something that I'm supposed to be doing? Is this what I need? Is this keeping me on the right path? And when that stress comes in, that's when you have to kind of take a step back and realize, well, you may it may bring in all this self doubt, self sabotage. And when you see that, you have to say, well, no, that's not true. Okay,
Hmm.
I need to get rid of this action, or make peace with it and just say, okay, that's done. We're moving ahead.
For sure, for sure. Very similar to me. Exactly the same thing. When the stress creeps in, when the doubt creeps in, I've learned, okay, these are what's going on. So I'd say the strategy. So how do you personally reset your course or course correct and notice that you've slipped into self sabotage behavior?
But when I'm in that stressed state and I realize that, it's simple for me. I just say that's not true,
It's not true. Yeah.
and it's a simple thing, but it works for me,
Yep.
And I just say that's not true. I'm doing
Yep.
this, and then it turns over. You'd be surprised that all of a sudden your overall demeanor, you kind of straighten up and go, yeah, okay, we're doing this.
Yeah. I'm going to say a pretty controversial topic for me. Not everybody will agree with this. It might make some people upset, but I'm going to say it anyway. I always say, not today, Satan, not today.
Nice, that's a good one.
Yeah,
I'm
because let's
gonna
be honest, man, he does not want you to be successful. He does not want you to be more in the public eye. So when you're trying to do something really really big, and
yeah,
I'm gonna be honest, man, when I see it, when I start identifying, I start feeling these things welling up.
yeah.
I just go, not today, Satan, not today,
But I'm
not
gonna
gonna happen.
I'm gonna say take that one over and say that to myself sometimes, but I'm trying not to say it to anyone else.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
That might
It
get a
can't
little
be.
sticky.
Yeah,
That
it
might get a
can't.
little sticky.
Yeah, you can't be saying that in front of a big group like that. That has to be internal. Um,
Yeah,
you're just saying, not today, Satan, not today. So,
yeah, that could get
because
messy.
let's be honest, we all know that he would love nothing better than to stop us from, telling the good news and doing all the things that we do in our life. And,
Yeah.
just being that light, right? Doing these
Hmm.
amazing things and being that light for somebody else, guiding the way, lighting up the darkness. And for me personally, it helps, man. Like there's even a
Yeah.
song about it, "Not Today, Satan," and it's
Yeah.
a good
Yeah.
one.
I think so. I think so. Yeah.
And man, I'll tell you, it works. It really does. But I would badly close the tongue and speak internally if you're going to be in a big group.
Yeah, that could get messy in a hurry.
Oh yeah, 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 for sure. So, what role or what let's see, what role do other people, mentors, partners, communities play in breaking that cycle? So, do you personally have or look to anyone that when you're in these cycles and you can't break it, maybe you can't identify it, but you got things going on? Do you have some accountability partners or community or anybody that you go to try to, figure out what's going on?
I Yes, I do, and luckily have great partners and just friends and extended family and people that when things are not right, a lot of times they may not be something where they're expert. They might be not be their area of expertise, but a lot of times what we really need is just someone to listen or someone to just be a sounding board so we can think things through. And that's very important, especially if you have a mentor or a partner or something where you're trying to think through things. Sometimes it just takes a different set of ears, different set of eyes to say, hey, this does, and I've had people say, hey, that doesn't sound like this is something that you should be involved with, or and it's good and it's great to have people like this in your life where they'll actually be honest with you and say, hey, this is not in alignment with what you're doing, or you maybe think about it this way. And usually it's something that maybe you didn't even really think about, and it puts you in a different frame of context where you can actually be empathetic and realize that, hey, this I'm really kind of going out on a limb here. I'm not in alignment with myself.
Yeah, I'm going to say it's really good to have mentors or partners or a community, that people that kind of know you, know your identity, and really adhere to your energy, or know that when your energy is low or when it's high. For instance, me and my partner, we had a good heart to heart conversation this past week or this week, because he's been really low on energy for the last week or two. And I could tell that. And I said, hey, man, I think that it's kind of funny that self sabotage is the topic we picked, because
Yeah.
I said, hey, it seems like that maybe you are doing some self sabotaging. There's some things going on that you feel inferior to. And he goes, oh man, you're right. So sometimes we're not the best as men, especially speaking up. I'm sure women too,
Yeah.
speaking up and saying, hey, I'm kind of low on energy lately. I don't
Struggling.
really, yeah, struggling,
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
Just, hey, I'm struggling,
Put
you
your
know,
hand up. You know.
and,
Yeah.
that was a great conversation, because at the end of it, he's like, dude, I needed that. I needed
Mm-hmm.
that. So put yourself in a mentorship position or mentoree. Find people that you can be around that can keep you accountable, partners or a community that you can kind of help break the cycle. Because, man, if they always say, if you're going through hell, then don't walk, run.
Yeah. Run.
Don't stay there long. you know,
And not
so
today,
same thing.
Satan.
Yeah, not
Not
today,
today,
for
Satan.
sure. So, if you could give one tool or practice or mind shift to someone who's struggling with self sabotage, what would it be?
I would say, your 30-day, your 30 things, write those things down. That's a great one. For me, I know what works is just stopping, saying that's not true. And since I'm really into a lot of the breath work, just taking, if it takes one breath or it takes 10, just do a bunch of them to get yourself, de-stress yourself, remove yourself from the situation, and just say, hey, that's not true. That everything's fine. I can do this. Things always work out for me. I'm doing this. And you'd be
Yep.
surprised at how much relief and how much that just lets go of all of those things. What do you use aside from the 30 things?
For me, I always try to have good people around me
Mm-hmm.
that can kind of notice when things are off. I love music. I love
Mm-hmm.
motivational speaking. People like Jim Rohn and all the different people in our life,
Oh
Zig
yeah.
Ziglar. So when I feel down, procrastination, these things, I'm not going to lie, I go to YouTube a lot, whether that's a
Mm-hmm.
sermon, whether that's a motivational speech by, Zig Ziglar or Tony Robbins or somebody. I try to find something that speaks to me, that kind of helps me. That's my tool. And
Mm-hmm.
then writing, journaling. Also, I love helping other people. And I've also noticed when things aren't quite right, um, I haven't helped a lot of people that week or that
Mm-hmm.
month. So I'm like, okay, well, I know where I am. How can I go help somebody else where they are? So that's kind of my
Mm-hmm.
tools. My toolbox is this: to reconcile. It's the list of 30 things, the list of 30 accomplishments. I'm not talking huge accomplishments. I'm not talking about making hundreds of millions of dollars. I'm talking about being a father, being a husband, having a roof over your head, a vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
Your kid still tells you they love you. Your wife still says they love you. That's accomplishments. Let's be
Mm-hmm.
honest. Some
That's
people don't
big.
have that.
Mm-hmm.
So it can be just minimal. I mean, really clean water. I mean, like this, you have clean water on your desk, something
Yeah.
you can see through. That right there is not something that everybody has, and you have to
Yeah.
realize that. So taking that inventory of those things. Number two would be YouTube. Going to YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
finding that good motivational speaker that you really resonate with. That's something that really helps me. And then finding a sermon or joining a community like a church or a different entrepreneurship community that can kind of help you through some of the cycles that you're going through that you just can't break on your own. So those are some really good things that I've found that's helped me with my self sabotage and my tools to get me out of them.
Those are great. I mean, you feel free to use all of them. Do whatever it takes to get yourself out of it. I mean, that's a good things that I know I needed to hear when I was younger, and probably do a little more than fly off the handle or continue to self sabotage myself with a lot of self destructive behavior that I fell into when I was much younger. And but when you think about following your inner compass, how does that help you overcome these patterns that are holding you back?
Mm. The inner compass is all where it starts, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's that true north, right? It's the understanding where that magnetic pull is. As we know that the compass points north because the magnetic pull is towards that north facing. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we have to align ourselves with that true north. Like, where are we going? Where's the magnetic pull? And it comes down to the why. It comes down to your purpose and understanding, you know, where you're going and what it takes to get there and navigating yourself through the challenges. So for me personally, the inner compass is it's set in stone. I know where I'm going. It's important to me. My identity is right. My purpose is right. I know the why, and I keep those things front and center. And sometimes I need to remind myself of that. So for me, it's just everything that's important. Thinking about that last lecture or writing your eulogy, what other people would say about you, all this comes into play when you
Mm-hmm.
think about the inner compass, like where you're truly going.
Yeah, and I would add to that something that Dr. Jamil question he told me to always ask, like if you're feeling a little flusters or whatever or what have you, maybe self sabotage and is coming in pretty heavy, just ask yourself this question: Is this serving me? Is this serving my purpose?
Absolutely.
And if it's not, you can get rid of it. It's
Mm-hmm.
okay. You don't need to hold on to that baggage. Just
Yep.
say, hey, is this serving me? Yes. Okay. Well, let's keep moving. Maybe it's difficult for a reason because this is happening for you because you need to go through that challenge and you need to overcome that. But if it's not, feel free to walk away. It's okay to walk away from things.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to feel obligated to anyone or anything to finish something that is not alignment with your purpose.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. I 200% agree with that. It's a great addition. I think that this self sabotage discussion is it's a real thing. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot. I think a lot of people are dealing with this. I know a lot of people I've seen around me, just in general passing. Seeing people in the gym, seeing people, in the grocery store, self sabotages. When I talk to them, they're self sabotaging while they're talking to me, and I
Mm-hmm.
would love to see that activity switch to the wayside and turn that over to a good news state, and just understand that you're probably the only one holding yourself back.
Yeah,
Like, truthfully, you are probably the only one holding you back. Like, you're the problem. You got to get out of your way. Somebody else is not the problem. It's you are the problem. And you're probably telling yourself a lot of stuff that you're actually physically believing in. Nobody told you weren't good at this thing besides
mm-hmm.
you.
Yeah. And I would say, I just thought of this as like, what's the opposite of self sabotage? How do you self motivate? Like how do you turn that around? Like instead of talking yourself out of all these things, talk yourself into that stuff. Build your story. Build you. Make
That's right.
write your best story. Be the best you. All it takes is a decision. And I remember you did your post earlier this week about all it takes is one decision. That one decision could be the best decision that you ever made in your life.
It
Could
is.
be past all that self sabotage and self motivating that helps you find your true north, helps you find your purpose. It's and you're only doing things that serve you. That might be all it takes, and usually that's all it takes. And it's not like you were alluded to earlier. It's not a bunch of big things. It's not really an aha moment. It's a bunch of little things that start lining up once you start doing the right things and making those decisions.
And I think the last thing to round this episode out is this: the one last thing that we all have to do is we have to remove the ego and the pride and
Mm-hmm.
not believe that we're standing on the mountain. When you inject being humble and humility and just you are confident in saying, I'm just getting started.
Yeah, I'm just getting started. It's funny that we are doing this self sabotage because I was reading a book recently, I Am the Mountain, which you just alluded to mountain, made me remember that I read that book. And it says a reminder is that, whatever you're doing and you think people are watching you or are listening to what you're saying and are being really critical about you, they're not. They're caring about themselves. So just forget about all that and just continue to do the things that serve you.
Absolutely. Well, for the ones listening, Scott, where can they find you, man?
You can find me at investwithscottkid.com. You can find the Inner Compass podcast there. You can find the Yacht Captain Investor podcast, all my social media stuff. And, we'd love to hear from you guys. Please like, subscribe, comment below. We'd love to hear your take on self-sabotage and all the other topics we've talked about, self-development. We really enjoy this, and we hope it makes a difference like it has for us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Man, this has been great for me during this journey. It's hard to believe we got 18 episodes now in the books as we
Yeah.
near 20. Like it's been great. We've done 2 lives so far talking about the 30-day challenge. It's been so awesome to do this. I know I've developed a lot throughout this phase, and I know you have also stated the same thing. You've developed a lot, change of mindset, change of physical place. It's just been really cool. So you can find me at EddieAustinBEX.com. All social media, you'll find me there. Eddie Austin BEX as well. And, again, please smash that like button and subscribe and share this with somebody else. Like, I wish that you just become that light for someone else and be extraordinary and share it with other people. And, man, we want to see this just go so far and help so many people. And the only way we can do that is by asking for your help because we see the analytics on our YouTube channel, and a lot of you guys are not subscribed. And if you subscribe and share it with somebody else so they can subscribe, it would help everyone out because it gets pushed out to more people. More people get more help, and that's all we want. So until next time, Scott, go ahead and close us out, man.
And as always, I'm Scott Kidd with Eddie Austin. Be clear, be grateful, and listen. See you guys next time.
See you all on the next one.